Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Please excuse the fact that my hair is slightly damp and very fluffy. I've just washed it, but I don't know if it's like this where you are, but in Scotland at the moment we're having like this really sudden weird heat wave. It's like getting up to close to 30 degrees and it's just so hot. Like I'm actually sweating just wearing a t-shirt dress, and I only put a setting spray on so I could like cool down my face. So if my hair's slightly a bit damp, then whatever, like soz, I haven't even brushed it. I just didn't want to turn on my hairdryer. Anyway, onto the video. Today I'm going to be doing a cut crease tutorial for hooded eyes. As you can tell by the title, I bang on about it enough on this channel. I have hooded eyes and it makes makeup a bit hard to put on and use sometimes. My last video I did on hooded eyes was an eyeliner tutorial, so if you haven't seen that yet, go ahead and click up there and it will take you straight to that video, but watch this one first and then go back, because, you know. So I thought it'd be good to show like how I've kind of learned to do my cut creases with hooded eyes. With me in particular, my hooded eyes are not only uneven, but I haven't got a lot of eyelid space as it is, so between like my eyelid and my eyebrow I haven't got a lot of room. So it can be extra tricky for me to do this, because in order to like have my cut crease show, I need to make the fake new crease really high up, but then if I do that then I have no room up here, so it can look a little bit odd. But yeah, so I thought I'd show you that and just give you maybe a few tips and tricks on how to get it like that. I'm going to zoom you right into this eye. I'm only going to do the one eye on camera and then do the other eye off camera. I'm going to zoom you right in here. Let's get all close and personal, get up in my grill, and we'll get on to the tutorial. Okay, so I have a confession to make. I filmed this and I left it until last minute, literally until last night, to actually edit it and do all of that stuff. And then I realised that the full footage of me doing the cut crease was completely out of focus. So I've had to reshoot all of that today, which is why the video's up so late. So sorry if anyone like actually cares what time I put a videos up. But yeah, so I've tried to make this look as normal as possible compared to what it was when I did it the other day. So it's the same method anyway. I'm just priming my eyelids with the Collection Lasting Perfection concealer. I do have like eyeshadow primers and stuff, but I think when I'm doing a cut crease, I prefer not to do like 2 layers of eye primer or whatever, so I always do the concealer first. I'm using the Soph X Revolution Extra Spice palette. This is like my favourite go-to palette, and I'm not doing anything too crazy. I'm going to go in the shade Cheesecake. It's just like this kind of like pinkish, warmish brown colour. With hooded eyes, I feel like the best shape for eyeshadow is a winged out shape. I feel like it really extends your eye, really makes it look a lot bigger. So that's my preferred method. So I'm just stamping on the eyeshadow in the winged shape. Something that I learned from Nikki Tutorials is to figure out the shape of the eyeshadow first, and then you can go back in and blend it. So you can see that I've just got like a nice winged out shape, and that's completely unblended. I've just stamped the colour on, and that's really helping me like get a guide as to where I want to go with it. From here, I'm going to start to bring the eyeshadow in. Now, when I'm doing this for myself, because of my eyelids and where they are and where my hood is, I'm basically like slightly raising my eyebrows up so that I lift my hoods a little bit, but then I'm essentially just going over top of that, as you can see. So I'm just going straight over, not a lot of product on at first, but eventually I do add more on, and I'm just going to go over where my eyelid is, so that that's technically my new crease. And you can see that that goes from the inner corner of my eyebrow right the way out, and it kind of goes in like a downward slanted motion, but that's just going to give you plenty of space to actually blend out, and you can see there that you can actually see the eyeshadow there, whereas if I put that in my actual crease, it wouldn't show up at all. So I'm just going to blend that out completely. As a lot of you guys probably know if you've seen some of my other videos, I don't have a viewfinder on my camera, which is how like my last video went completely out of focus and why I'm slightly out of focus now and also a bit out of frame. What I have to do is I have to angle a mirror from one point to shoot into the back of the camera so that I can see what is in focus and all stuff like that, but because it's so far away, it's so difficult. So I apologise for going out of focus and for going out of frame. I do try to fix that quite a lot. I'm taking the eyeshadow, like, I'm following it down now into like the right near the inner corner of my eye, but I'm also blending that lightly up towards my eyebrow. Personally, I feel like having that really helps open up your eye, and because you've got hooded eyes, when you're trying to do the cut crease, if you don't really bring that up as high as possible, you're going to lose all of that eyeshadow when you eventually go and cut the lids. So I like to do that, and it was actually Nikki Tutorials that taught me that. as well. She taught me a lot about cut creases, obviously. I'm just deepening in the darker shade now along like the crease of my eye, of my eyelid and things like that, because it's much easier to do that now than to do it after you've already put your concealer on. So I do that now and make it really dark, and I'm not really too neat as to where exactly I'm putting this, just as long as it's a place where I know the darkness is probably going to be seen when I do cut it out. And then I'm just bringing in that shadow a little bit more onto the inside of my actual eyelid. So now I'm taking my P. Louise base, it's just like a tacky eyeshadow base, and I'm using this instead of concealer to cut my crease because this is very, very high pigment and it's a lot thicker, so I feel like for cutting creases it's a lot easier to work with. The brush that you can use, honestly, you could use a big one, a small one, whatever. I have like an average, like medium-ish size brush, and it's very sturdy, it's very pointed, it's like a tapered brush. I think this is actually meant to be like a concealer brush sort of thing, but I've never used it for that. I've always used it for either helping tidy up around my brows or for cut creases. I do have another smaller brush though that I use on occasion. The go-to trick for cutting your eyes is by putting the concealer along your eyelash line and then looking up, and then that puts a print on your lid like you can see there. But when you have hooded eyes, and I'm showing you just now, when you have hooded eyes, you can't really do that because you can't see any of the concealer that you've put on. So what you need to actually do is you need to draw it or whatever. You need to put it higher than what the line already gives you. If you were to connect this, it would look fine with your eyes are shut. So right now I'm just showing you like when you put this together, like it still looks nice, but it's just when your eyes are open you can't see it. Okay, so I just like connected that, and honestly like when your eyes are kind of shut or when you're looking down, that looks really nice. It doesn't look too much, it just looks fine. But when I look forward like that, you can't see anything apart from what is already like showing, if you know what I mean. Sorry if you just have my phone, my bad. So what I like to do is I like to go just a little bit higher, so I'd literally just kind of stamp it on but kind of go round at the same time, and I try to make it like about 1 millimeter higher or so, and then I round it off the shape because before it was kind of like quite slanted, it wasn't very rounded, and I'll like show you more later on why I do the more rounded shape as well. But even just doing it by that little amount, like literally 1 millimeter, it changes massively, and I'm so sorry this is out of focus. I tried my best to get it all in focus and in frame, and look at where it got me, so I'm quite annoyed to be honest with you. Okay, so that's what it looks like when you add on just a little bit extra, and I mean it's not fooling anyone, you can still see my actual like hood, my crease, whatever it is, but you can actually see the concealer there now, and it's really nicely rounded. It looks really, like, in my opinion, looks really nice, really pretty. But just in the inner corners, that kind of like rounds in to your eye. So I like to just round it straight down. So the top part's very rounded and then the bottom part is very straight. And that really helps open your eyes just a little bit more. And I think I'll go back in as well just to re-round that again because it was just a little bit too flat for me. But this shape itself really does flatten my eye shape, in my opinion. It does look a bit much sometimes, but honestly, like, you can make it as big or as small as you want. Even just rounding it would probably make it look a lot better, but because I just don't have a lot of space, I do like to lift it just a little bit. But like, you can actually see the concealed part now, like the cut part completely. And yeah, I just think that looks really nice in my eye. Personally, what I like to do is just bring the top round a little bit more, just extend that, and then the rest of it kind of stays the same. But I try to like blend it to be slightly diagonal. It's just really difficult with my eye shape and the brush that I've got. This is where a smaller brush would be a lot more handy. But you can easily go back in and blend in more colour on top of that later on to kind of like get the, I don't know, the edges of it really, really nice. But that to me is like the completed cut crease, like the half cut crease sort of deal. Now I'm just going to go in with Everyday and Infinity from the Soph palette. So it's like a pinky silver and, no, pinky silver and just a straight up silver. I really love these colours, especially with this cheesecake shade, and they're really nice and shimmery. Typically I think cut creases are with a shimmer eyeshadow, but they don't have to be. Like, you can put any sort of powder on top of that, whether it's a face powder, like some sort of translucent setting powder, or you can even just put like a matte eyeshadow on there. But personally, I just think shimmer shadows look nicer, and it's my preferred thing to do. You can also be like even more extra and go for like a straight up glitter. That's kind of what the silver shade did, but you know, it adds something nice to it. And when I'm putting this on, I will try and pat it on as much as possible, and then only once I've patted it on in some areas is when I will start blending it in with like wiping motions. That is mainly to help stop the concealer from moving and like blending in with the shadow, because then it can come a little bit like patchy and doesn't look entirely that great. And also it's just to help get the pigment on there, so once I've pressed the pigment on, then I'll kind of blend it out a little bit after that. The shade is very light, so it's hard to see exactly where it is, but in some angles you can see it a lot better. Personally, I like to have like, I'll maybe have like 2 colours for the actual eyeshadow look, like the matte eyeshadows, and then for the cut crease itself, I like to have a darker shadow like on the edge, so that it blends in a bit more seamlessly with my eyeshadow, and then I have a really bright colour right in the inner corner of my eye, and that's, I sometimes just put highlighter straight up on there, but I think the pinky colour and then the silver colour go really well together for this look. So I just pat that on, press it on, and then blend the 2 colours together. And then I'm just taking the cheesecake shade again, because I wasn't really happy with how this edge looked. So I'm just bringing the colour in a bit more to try and get that blend looking a bit nicer, and to make it look a little bit neater as well, because I didn't really like the angle it was going at. Now for the lower lash line, and this is probably going to be completely out of shot, and I did try. I tend to go in with the same shadow underneath, so like the deeper shadow that got my eye, I go quite strongly with that under my eye, and I go about halfway round, maybe 2/3 round, and then I don't go any further with it there, so I stop about there. And then I bring that in a straight line, as opposed to following the curve of my eye, I bring it in a straight line, and that way it kind of leaves a bit of a gap between the eyeshadow and like your waterline kind of area, and I think that really helps open up your eyes. So if you have got very small eyes, doing this wing shape with your eyeshadow and leaving that gap will really help kind of wake you up, make your eyes look a lot bigger, and I don't know, I think it's very, very flattering for someone with an eye shape like mine, and a lot of eye shapes as well lend, like, you know, go really well with this sort of look. And then I'm just putting a mixture of the silver and pinky shades together, so Everyday and Infinity, and then I'm just going to blend that into like an inner corner highlight as well after that. And because I'm even more extra, I put a little bit onto my brow bone. And honestly, that's pretty much it for the cut crease. It is very simple once you get the technique. If you do try to do this, don't give up on the first time, because if you don't get it right the first time, that's fine. Trust me, it took me forever to get to this point where I understood how my eye shape looked and what worked best with my eye shape. And even when I do the other eye, I kind of had to come to grips with the fact that my other eye isn't going to be as symmetrical and as perfect, well, perfect in quotation marks, but as good as what this eye will be, because of the fact that my eyes are uneven in shape and they're a little bit wonky. So do what suits your eye shape best. Really give it some practice. At the end of the day, it's all a bit of fun. Okay guys, so that is the finished look with both of my eyes completely done. I'll insert a little clip of like what the cut creases look like a bit closer up. Just like over top or in the corner somewhere, wherever. I'll put it there. I'll put it there. It's filmed on my phone, so yeah, it's so hard to film like up close shots with this camera, because again I don't have a viewfinder, so I can't see what the hell I'm doing. So my phone will have to do, that's why it's a bit smaller, so hopefully it looks a bit better quality. But yeah, so that's kind of my way of doing my cut crease, or half cut crease I suppose. Maybe one day I will do a full cut crease tutorial, but really it's just kind of the same, but you just kind of follow along. So that's my tips and tricks tutorial sort of thing on how I do half cut creases with my hooded eyes. Honestly, the main tips are, like, you can follow the way that people normally do it by putting the concealer or whatever on the eyelid, look up, sort of like that, and then kind of add to it from there. Just the main thing I would always say to do is when you're doing the shape of your eye, like of your eyeshadow, wing it out, makes it look so much better with hooded eyes, especially if you have smaller eyes. Wing it out a little bit, it really opens up your eyes. When you're doing the eyeshadow, look forwards and go across the top of your like crease of your hoods, and that way you can really like figure out where exactly your eyeliner, no not your eyeliner, your like eyeshadow is going, and then you can kind of like put the concealer or eye primer or whatever just below that line, or just above like the crease but like below the eyeshadow. Bring the eyeshadow into like your eyebrow a little bit more, so like really bring it straight in. That again helps to open up your eyes, and it gives the illusion of having more space there when you do cut your crease. And also when you are cutting your crease, to bring it out more into like the inner corner. So don't just have it going from your tear duct up, bring it out a little bit, just by a couple of millimeters, and you'll be surprised. And then just to really like open up your eyes when you're doing your lower lash line, do it kind of normal by following your lash line quite closely until you get to about 3/4 of the way in, typically where like your iris stops, and then just go straight, leave a bit of room, and then add a little bit of shimmer or whatever colour you're doing underneath there. And it kind of makes your whole eye look a bit more open and it looks a bit more cohesive, and I think it just makes it look a lot nicer overall. If you're going to do eyeliner, that's up to you, just kind of follow the same shape as your eyes going. And if you're still unsure about how to do eyeliner when you have hooded eyes, go ahead and check my other video out. It will just be in the clickable eye button up there. But yeah, so that's kind of like my tips and tricks for all of this. I hope that this kind of helps. Give it a try. I mean, this didn't like work for me the first time I tried it. I tried it a few times, really saw what worked best for my eye shape, and honestly, it doesn't come out the same every single time. It really is just a case of trying and trying again and trying again, and eventually you'll get to a shape that you're happy with, that you can find out how to like figure out really easily, and it's just, it doesn't take that long at all. This eye for like tutorial purposes took me about 15 minutes, but this eye took me about 5. So once you get to the hang of it, you can really just get in there really quickly, get it all done, and it looks fine. It's not going to be the same as like if you had really open eyes and things like that, but I think this is quite a nice way to do it if you have got the smaller eyelids, like the smaller lid space, as well as your hoods. So give it a go. You might really be surprised at how well you do, just with a few small tricks. I don't have any comment shout outs for my last video. I haven't got any comments on that yet, so I can't give a comment shout out, but as I said when I first announced I'm going to be doing these shout outs, if I don't have any new comments, then I'll shout out a random subscriber. So my shout out today goes to Cesar Lou. Thank you for being here, thank you for being subscribed. Today in the comments I want you to let me know if you put your eyeshadow on with a wet base, or if you put your eyeshadow on with a dry base, or if you even put a base on. So do you use eyeshadow primer that's like tacky? Do you use concealer but set it with powder? Or do you just leave your eyelids bare and just put the powder on, like the eyeshadow on top of that? Let me know that, because I'm really interested to see what other people use. If you like this sort of video, go ahead and leave me a like down below. As again, I always say this, but it really helps me know what type of content you guys are liking, and it helps me create it a bit more, because I'm like, right, what else can I do? So please leave me a like if you do enjoy this video, and if you want to stick around and see my journey on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe. I put up videos every single Wednesday and Sunday, and the first Thursday of every month I do a TBT series. So if you want to keep up with my channel, go ahead and subscribe. I really appreciate it. But yeah, that is it for me today. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.